Welcome to this session on leading through uncertainty, navigating the next era of AI and energy transformation. We all know this, but let me do the introduction anyway. There's an AI race underway around the world. Countries and companies are hoping to seize the lead and make the most of the economic and geopolitical benefits of AI. We know that data center power consumption is set to double by the end of the decade. We know that Sam Altman has said that this is existential for the technology. So there are some key and big questions here. How should businesses and policymakers think about this challenge? What does AI mean for thinking on energy security? How can energy be scaled up fast enough to allow AI to progress? And can AI in turn lead to efficiencies in power generation? Now, it's my pleasure to introduce two distinguished panelists to talk about this. We have Dr. Fatih Birol, the Executive Director of the International Energy Agency. Great to have you. And Nandan Nilekani, Co-founder and Chairman of Infosys. Fantastic to have you as well. Thank you both for being here. We're going to talk for about half an hour, and then there'll be time for questions at the end. So please do start thinking of them. I'm sure you'll have plenty. Maybe, Fatih, if I can start with you, just to set the scene for what the stakes are here. When you talk to policymakers and governments, how has their thinking on energy security changed? How much broader has it become because of AI?
Maybe thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me, and thank you very much for your friendship, partnership. It was great to host you and your colleagues in Paris at our headquarters, and we wrote a very nice op-ed together. Thank you very much for that, Nandan. Now, if I can say something, starting from the negative, maybe, can I? Okay.
Go for it, yes.
So I have been dealing with the energy issues for some time, and energy and geopolitics are always interwoven. But I have never ever seen a time that the long and dark shadow of geopolitics so strong on the energy sector, across the energy sector, oil, gas, electricity, nuclear, critical minerals, supply chains, everything. And I am an energy person, and as such, I really don't like it. I wish energy was a part of economy and part of technology, but it is not like that. This is the realities of life. And the energy security risks are multiplying. In addition to traditional energy security risk, oil and gas, now we have the electricity security and the critical minerals supply chains because of the concentration there. And in many cases, in many countries, rightly so, the energy security is elevated to the level of national security. And it will continue like this, I think, for some time to come, because many countries, many governments are using, unfortunately, energy as a weapon to pursue their agendas. So then what can we do to push this back is generate electricity, energy as much as possible at home. And here I want to make one maybe terminology statement. For AI, we don't need energy, we need electricity. So I want to make it clear that it is electricity which is needed. And when I look at the electricity, we are an organization of, or this, I should say, I am a man of numbers. When I look at the numbers, today, electricity demand growth globally is at a record level. We have never seen such a strong of electricity demand growth. Energy demand totally is growing, but electricity demand grows three times faster than the total energy demand growth. And there are many reasons for that, but two of them are important, the additional ones coming. One of them is not very much related to our topic directly, but for me it is important. air conditioners. When we look at the world, I mean, US or Japan, 90% of the households have an air conditioner. But in Nigeria, it's 5%. India, 20%. Indonesia, Malaysia, if you look at that part of the 18%. With the increasing income levels, people buy air conditioners to have a more comfortable life, which is a basic human right. And this, in turn, increases the electricity consumption. The second one is artificial intelligence. You are perfectly right there. And the data centers today are a major driver of electricity consumption around the world. I say there is no AI without electricity, full stop. And there is, as you rightly mentioned, there is a race between the United States, China, India, Europe, Middle East to be a front runner on AI. And in my view, who will be where will be determined by who has ample electricity and affordable electricity prices. So therefore, electricity will be availability, and the price of electricity will be determined of who will win the AI race. This is what I see, and even in the Western countries, in Europe, in the United States, electricity demand was years and years, in the last 10, 15 years, was flat. And now it is increasing mainly due to AI. So, and where will this demand come from? How are we going to meet that demand growth? There are different options, different countries. There's renewables in some countries, natural gas in others, in some others, nuclear power. We are seeing this. But in my view, the future of the AI race will be big time determined by the availability of electricity. Some countries are better than the others here. In some countries there are barriers to have more electricity, but I think it is the reason we are saying, is the IEA, that we are entering the age of electricity. We have seen the age of coal dominating fuel. Coal is still with us, but in the some of you may remember the pictures, the Emile Zola, the industrial revolution in the Western world was fueled by coal, the coal miners. And the coal was a dominant fuel, but it was replaced by oil and gas. We are still there. Oil and gas is the dominant fuel. But I see that now we are entering the age of electricity, and one of the key drivers of this is artificial intelligence. And I stop here.
Thank you very much. And I feel that at this point, we have to talk about the relative strengths of China versus the West when it comes to this. Fatih, I know you've been looking, you have the numbers at the tips of your fingers, but China is really, the amount of power generation capacity that is coming from China is really something. And if this is the key input into AI, that could make a difference.
You are completely right. China is, to be honest with you, in terms of electricity generation, in front of many others. I give you one number. So I give too many numbers, but I can. My English is not.
They
very
tell the
good.
story. They tell the story.
Look, I tell you, 10 years ago, the share of electricity in the total energy in Europe was 20%. China was 20%. 10 years ago. Today, Europe is still 20%. China is 32%. Because China saw the future for their economy is electricity. And why China is doing this? Mainly for energy security and also for industrial policy. Because instead of looking at what is happening in the Middle East and Gulf, it is going to be this or that, they produce their own. They can do it at home. This is one thing. And the second thing is, I know everybody is not an energy person here, but when you want to build a power plant to generate electricity, let's say gas turbine, today in the United States or in Europe, if you order a gas turbine or transformer in the Siemens of this world or the Hitachis or GE, whatever, you wait at least 5 years. You have to be in the queue. There's a backlog. In China, you get it in 2 months of time. So there is a big manufacturing capacity there. So China is in front of the others. Plus, I should tell you that I was telling in another meeting here, electricity means copper. And last year here in Davos, I said we will see a strong increase in a big meeting with the president's copper prices. And I remember the president of Peru, she came and kissed me because they have a lot of copper. And indeed, copper prices increased by 45% in 1 year of time. In one year of time. So why it is happening? Because electricity means copper, and there is not much except for certain companies. There are not much investment in going in copper, both in terms of the mining and also refining of copper. We just look at the numbers. We are not profits, or we don't have any magic ball. It is the numbers show that copper will be very important in the future. So China also from that perspective, not only in terms of the electricity, building the power plant, but the manufacturing capacity of the transformers and the turbines, and also the copper and the others, China has an important advantage vis-a-vis other countries.
And Nandan, this must be a bit of a shock to tech firms because they're used to moving fast and breaking things and not very capital light, not very power intensive. And suddenly they're at the mercy of power generation, which moves at a completely different speed.
No, totally. I think, as Fatih mentioned, I think finally energy may be the limiting factor of AI. Because you could probably crank up the chips and have more factories, and TSMC can build more chips, and NVIDIA can do all that. But if it takes 5 years backlog to get a transformer, and the other things, for example, permitting. In the West, it takes years and years to get permission to lay a transmission line. It takes years to connect a generations unit. You can build a solar plant in 1 year, and it takes 3 years to connect it to the grid. Whereas in China, they do it instantaneously, right? So I think these kind of things have completely upset the calculations, which is why you're seeing all kinds of actions. For example, you're seeing the revival of nuclear plants that were shut down, 3 Mile Island, which Microsoft went. You're seeing efforts to extend the life of existing nuclear reactors. You're seeing investment in new forms of nuclear, like small modular reactors and fusion. People are now investing in geothermal. So I think it has unleashed a race to find more and more conventional and unconventional forms of energy. And of course, the other point which I think Fatih also referred to is that the whole battery and solar, which the Chinese have has led to a 95% drop in these costs. So they really dominate this solar batteries, wind, the solar panels and all that. So that is all. And then, of course, in the US, there is a sort of an renewable energy movement. So that's further complicating matters. So I think it's a big mess, actually.
And there's a lot that's happening off the grid now as well, with sort of bring your own as well. How should we think about that? Is that a desirable innovation? Are some of these, what we're seeing, the tech firms sort of taking the power generation into their own hands, is that a desirable innovation, or is that something that makes the broader system less resilient?
May I?
Yes, yeah.
I think the reason why I see this trend is that some of the tech companies gave up. They don't have any more hope for the governments to be. They try to do it themselves, and some of them, since some of the technologies, such as the small modular reactors or the geothermal, which require a lot of financing, benefit from tech companies because they have deep pockets there. And we see that the second generation advanced geothermal or the SMRs, small modular reactors, getting a support from there. I think I tell you, I am not an AI person, but I understand. At least my reading is AI may be the most consequential technological innovation of the humanity up to now, and who will lead there and which position countries will have will decide on many things. the economic picture, power, the global power, political power of the countries. So therefore, again, electricity is at the heart of it. Lots of electricity and affordable electricity. And as I said, China is, I would say, a few steps ahead of all others, just looking at the facts here.
So perhaps in a way, there's a silver lining here. I mean, people talk a lot about an AI bubble and whether there's overinvestment or not. But if one outcome is the power generation capacity goes up, that's something that sort of endures no matter whether there's overinvestment or not.
Yes. Power capacity is, in fact, just the opposite. The power capacity is not there where it should be. And when we look at the investments, I'm happy to see that the investments in the data centers today are as much as the oil supply investments. This is really amazing. It shows the power of it.
Yeah.
I can give you one number about India. The India's IT export revenues are as much as the Saudi Arabia's oil export revenues, about 220 billion. So it is something that we should understand that things are changing a bit.
Probably a lot of this down to the man sat next to us.
I think so. I'm a simple bureaucrat. He's a rich man, so this is so I am just talking about I can make reports, he can make money. So, but I mean, this is I really believe that the electricity is at the heart of it, and it is the reason Nandan is completely right. In the Western world, in many parts of the world, the permitting and licensing takes years, honestly. But in China, it is very quick, and China is a few years in front of the rest of the world, not only Western world, but the rest of the world. So we will see how it is going to end up, but it will be, in my view, one of the determinants of the finding who is winning the AI race.
Now, there are a couple of trade-offs here.
Yeah.
One is, I think you touched on it with the renewables, Nandan. What happens to climate pledges and decarbonization pledges? The big tech firms in particular have made these pledges. So can that continue to hold? Can it be that they can invest at sort of warp speed into energy while retaining those pledges? That's one trade-off, and another I might ask you to comment on that. The other is something that's rising up the political agenda is the costs, whether there are spillovers to higher costs for households, higher energy bills, and Donald Trump has been exercised about that one, and Fatih, I'll come to you on that. But can these two sides
I think
be
it does put a
maintained?
stress on the goals because a lot of the capacity growth is being done. Of course, nuclear we can think of that as green, but these small turbines. If you look at XAI in Texas, they've just put turbines there, and then there's a startup which was designing a new jet engine, has pivoted to making it now for data centers. So all kinds of things are happening. But I think the way they're going to do it, they're just going to buy the carbon credits. So they'll meet their goals, but they'll just buy credits on the market.
And do you think the carbon credit market is sort of up to that?
Not to the level that I would like to see. In fact, in terms of climate change, to be very frank, what I see is that I talk with many governments, heads of states. The climate change, unfortunately, I would say, in the international political agenda is sliding down, while the climate change-induced extreme weather events are increasing in terms of frequency and intensity. So normally it should be the other way around. If there is we see more floods, more heat waves and something, as a reaction to that, it should go up in the political agenda. But today we saw it's going down in the political agenda, climate change, and the extreme weather events are increasing. So carbon credits can be one of the solutions.
It may not be carbon credits.
Yeah.
It may be bilateral deals.
Exactly. This is
It's not going to be a market. It's going to be over the counter. So they'll tie up with a big project which is doing afforestation, and that's how they'll match it.
Yeah. And I believe the companies, tech companies, other companies who are especially tech companies, I should say, we are talking about that, who are giving up completely their environmental ambitions might be making a mistake. Of course, they can, in the short term, their cost may a bit go down, but this is a reputational thing. And I think many of them will suffer because of in the mid and long term, because of the reputational damage they will have. And because the people who are using these tech applications, most of them are really sensitive to climate change issues. If not today, it will come tomorrow, this thing, in my view.
And what about the political sort of consequences of electricity prices rising? There's a bit of a debate on how much data center demand is pushing up bills.
Exactly. I think there is now a discussion with these different governments whether or not the price increase due to the unexpected, for the governments, unexpected pressure coming from the data centers should be, at least at a certain level, compensated by the technology companies rather than the households. There is a debate there. Or should they get the same type of price, or they should have a different tariff? There's a discussion there.
Yes, so answering that will be quite important, I think.
Very much so, exactly.
Also for how the technology itself is perceived, perhaps, by ordinary
But
people.
may I say something? I think I have to go a couple of minutes, but there's one thing I shouldn't forget, because we are always talking here on the impact of AI on the electricity markets. It is because of lots of electricity will be needed, and the energy industry sees, at least electricity industry sees, AI is a headache because we need to bring new electricity, this power plant. But there is other part of the story, which we are now working on this, making a major report, how the AI will help the energy sector in different ways, ranging from, for example, in many parts of the world, there is an issue of we call grid congestion. There is not enough grid. The electricity grids bringing from the power plants to the households, to the factories, and so on. There is a lack of grid here, and but the grids we use in most of the world at 30-35% capacity utilization rate. AI can help us to increase utilization rate of the grids, more optimize the use of them. It will increase the productivity there, or it can also help to enhance the technological innovation, the pace of technological innovation. So the AI is not only a troublemaker for energy sector, but it can also help bring some benefits for optimization of the energy use, productivity, and efficiency gains. This is something that we are working on and try to quantify it.
And this is something that the tech industry says as well, that, yes, we have huge power needs, but we can actually help make the system more efficient. Nandan, what else could help here in terms of impact on the electricity sector?
No, I think the challenge, AI will play a big role, because essentially the electricity sector is getting more distributed and more volatile. It's distributed because you will have millions of people producing energy because they have rooftop solar. Every house will have a EV car or a EV two-wheeler. So every house is a producer, consumer, storer, buyer, and seller of electricity, which is a whole new phenomenon. We never had that before.
It will be much more complex.
Yeah, it will be very complex.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, pricing will be very volatile. So, today when I get a bill from the utilities, the bill is the same price for the month. Tomorrow, the price will change every minute. So you have millions of producers. You have many more devices in the home, heat pumps and all that. You have this dynamic pricing. So the number of transactions that are happening will suddenly go up by the billions. And you will not, unless you use AI to sort of manage this, predict it, and do, for example, demand shifting.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that a lot of things are the car is charged when the power is cheapest. But to do it at scale for millions of households is an AI problem. So I think you're going to see it. But the thing is, it'll take many years for this to happen. Well, the demand is today. So that's the challenge.
May I a bit elaborate on this? Yeah. This is extremely important. I mean, in the past, in a normal world, before the AI messed up our world, I should say, we had large-scale power plants okay, big power plants. And with the transmission lines, it goes to the households, factories, through transmission lines, and there is one electricity price.
Yeah.
It is changing. There's a lot of power plants, not the central power plants, but distributed mainly for renewables. Plus, the consumers are changing. Some of the consumers also produce electricity, and the time of use of electricity is a very important aspect. So AI can help us to optimize these things altogether. This will be of crucial importance, but what we are trying to do is, these are good to say, but quantify this, how much it can help.
That's what you're doing in the
Exactly, that's what we are doing now.
And when's that report coming out?
April for the
Okay.
because President Macron asked us for the G7. If there's a G7, President Macron is going to host it in France and in Paris, and we are working for that.
Might have to be the G6 possibly, rather than G7.
I cannot comment on that. So
But there are other things. There are other ways in which AI can help as well. If it makes heavily polluting industries more efficient in their use of energy, that's possibly something else.
many things, and batteries, but it can help to improve the battery technologies and different solutions, the chemistry and so on. So, but we have to look at the end of the day, the costs and benefits of AI, and we shouldn't only see the cost of AI as the electricity shortage or electricity pressure. There.
So that's one bit of advice, Fatih. I know you have to go at 1:30, so I just wanted to end with your sort of further bits of advice for policymakers when they're thinking about this. We all agree that electricity is vital if AI is to progress, and it's vital anyway.
Yeah.
So what else should governments be doing?
I mean, first of all, they should make sure that the governments, the electricity investments and electricity building new electricity plants, transmission, distribution lines, all of this process should be simplified. There is a lot of barriers, unnecessary barriers, to simplify it and incentivize it. And especially those countries who do not have huge energy resources, oil and gas, electricity is the future. Mm-hmm. It is for India, it is for Europe, I think it's for many places of the world. And here, it is governments should do that. And at the same time, it is important how you price the electricity. It is important. And third, how the AI could bring benefits to the energy sector and to the economy should be considered. Currently, to be very frank, many countries, governments see that AI is important, blah, blah, but they see AI as a troublemaker because they need electricity, and if they don't give the electricity, and you need electricity 24/7, you cannot give 23 hours, 59 minutes. It's every second. So therefore, they should understand the benefits of the AI and how AI can be employed to the energy sector. They should work on that.
Okay.
So we should understand that AI is now, as of now, part of the energy sector.
Yes. And so simplify, deregulate
As much as possible.
as much as possible,
Yeah.
and encourage the use of it in the wider economy.
Exactly, these three things, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I think you've got to go, but we're going to stay and do a Q&A with Nandan, so please do stay on. Thank you.
May I say one last thing?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much to Nandan for his leadership in this area. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll see you in Paris. Paris or Delhi, whatever.
Better parts.
Paris or Delhi, yes. Okay, questions, please put your hands up and I'll call on you. Do we have mics, or is... yes, and there's a mic. Don't worry, there's a mic coming. Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Hi.
Question.
Sure, Murli.
Fascinating conversation. I'm a doctor working on the brain. The brain operates on 20 watts, which is less than one light bulb here. Is it really realistic to be chasing AGI, which is going to be requiring massive amounts of power, maybe more than what exists on Earth? Or should we be looking at new models of AI that are much more energy efficient, and what's the progress in that area?
Well, I don't know about that, but I agree with you. What's been happening today is that a particular model of AI, which is you build larger and larger large language models, you throw more data at it, you throw more chips at it, these chips consume energy. That is the prevailing sort of narrative. But there are now people saying that maybe that road has not much runway, So the number of people working on things like world models, which is not just about text, but inputs like how does a human being learn by watching? So replicating that. But I don't know, and I'm not an expert. I don't know if anyone actually saying if the human brain can manage with so little energy and do everything that it does, why can't we do it? And I think that's a very good question, because if you're going to get to all this and get human level capability, but by so much of energy consumption, maybe it's not such a great idea. So I think it's a very good. And frankly, I think today's AI technology can solve 80% of our problems today. So we don't need some AGI to solve today's problems. So you're on the right track.
Thank you. Question over there.
Mr. Nandan, we've been talking about using space for electricity generation. Do you see that happening anytime soon?
Well, I mean, that's what, Elon Musk and all are talking about it. So, I mean, and the thesis is like this, right? So, what they have done successfully is dramatically lowered the cost of putting a satellite in space, right? So SpaceX has done a remarkable job in driving down the cost per kg of moving. So that means, in theory, and the rockets are becoming bigger and bigger. If you look at the new rockets. So, and now the Chinese are building a lot of. They're going to build reusable rockets. India is building. So suddenly, when the price of launching a satellite drops dramatically, then it becomes easier to move, tons of equipment into space to make it operate. And clearly, the sun there is there, so you can. There's no energy problem there. But you still have the question of shipping that data back. But already they have shown with Starlink that they can have millions of phones directly talking. So, I mean, it's possible that this is something which will. But there's a tendency to make this as whether it'll happen like today or after 10 years and all. We don't know.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
And then Shashank Nigam, CEO of Simplifying. I work with airlines, which are going to double the number of planes by 2040. What does responsibility look like in the age of AI? Is it different from your tenure in Infosys from the beginning till now? If you were to restart your tenure now, what will responsibility look like?
No, responsibility in the sense of
responsible growth, responsibility
Yeah.
to beyond just the shareholder value.
So I think that's why I think we need to sort of change the AI narrative to how do we use this to help people. And I think a lot of the thing is, AI will, and that's also a dominant narrative that's coming, which is AI will take away all the jobs. And then people will, but there'll be such high productivity, there'll have lots of money. Then everybody gets some universal basic income into their bank account, preferably with a stable coin or something. And then you sit on the beach, have a mojito, and play video games. So that's the narrative which is there. So I think that's really that's the dystopian view of the world. I think, therefore, we have to go to looking at AI as how is it going to amplify human potential? How does it make humans better? How does it make humans get better service? So I think unless we do that, I think this is not going to fly. So today, responsibility means reimagining the AI narrative in a way that benefits human beings.
Yeah, I agree with that. A question at the back, and then one here.
My question is, where is India in terms of this AI journey and the data center? What is the policy response you see from the government in terms of trying to address these challenges?
Yeah, so I think if you look at the AI stack, basically it's US and China have the stack. I mean, they have built the models, they have the chip. Now, the Chinese chips are not yet at the same level as American chips, but they are using the cheaper power to overcome the fact that chips are less efficient. So they're sort of using cheaper power to take care of it. So India, I think, will really become the use case capital of AI, because I think what we have demonstrated is using large-scale diffusion of technology in earlier versions, like the digital public infrastructure and all that. And that actually is much more inclusive. That's something which gets 1 billion people on board. So I think the AI in India will also be more use-oriented, more frugal in its design, because we can't afford to spend this kind of money, but actually make a difference to people's lives. People get better healthcare, better education, better agricultural knowledge, whatever. So I think that in that area, India will distinguish itself. And there's a very big AI summit happening next month in Delhi, 19th and 20th of February, which has some 20 heads of state, 50 CEOs coming, and the focus is entirely on applying AI for social benefit. Whereas it's not about applying AI to do AI slop or applying AI to eliminate jobs, but how do you make it useful to human beings?
And what's the power situation in India like? How easy will it be to?
I think there'll be a lot of specific power which will come up just for this. See, one thing is there's a very good national distribution of electricity. We have good transmission. Many of the state distribution companies are doing well. We have massive investments in power generation, in solar. So I think those kind of things. So what we will probably do is put up a gigantic solar power plant in some desert and put the data center next to it, so that it doesn't impinge on the larger network.
Okay, there's scope there.
Yeah.
Okay, question here. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that the IP related to AI will still be owned by the US companies and
IP? I personally feel there are no moats in AI. Nobody can control this stuff. So that's a good news in the sense, because today you can already see it, right? It's not a winner-take-all market by any means. Today in the large language model, there are 5 frontier models just in the US. And in China has shown with all these DeepSeek and Minimax and all these guys, Quen, they've all delivered equivalent capability models at a fraction of the cost. And in India we have, for example, there are many companies like Sarvam and all that who are launching a 40 billion parameter model next month, which is built very cheaply. So I think I don't see I think models will be commoditized. Models will be everywhere. And the techniques to build models will become cheaper and cheaper. On the chip side, yes, obviously, if you look at it, NVIDIA has a dominant position in the chips. There'll be 2-3 other American companies. The Chinese are behind, but now Huawei has come out with an AI chip. So I think the thing here is, when it's not winner take all, then what's your moat? There's no moat. So I'm not worried about that. I think we have to figure out ways to use this frugally to bring societal benefits.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Simon, leading innovation at Switzerland's largest energy utility. I'm wondering, does power price matter, right? Fatih said rightfully, maybe the one who has the cheapest power is the one who leads and wins the AI race. But if you rightfully mentioned as well that there is companies who are installing jet engines on site, so do you just need power, or does power price actually matter for the AI companies today?
No, the price doesn't matter. They can afford it even at a higher price. I don't think that's the issue. But I think the issue is, how will they produce it? I mean, there's enough to produce that shot. How will they get the permission to connect? And therefore they'll build this local stuff. And how will they distort pricing in a way that the common man gets affected? Because the common man gets affected and then politically decides that this AI is not worth the trouble, that the only thing it's doing is I'm losing my job and my price will is higher, then I think there'll be a social backlash on AI. So I think that's what we have to worry about.
So the actual cost to run your models, I mean, there's a willingness to pay. That's probably higher than other industries would have.
Well, right now it's being paid by fantasy money, right? VC money.
Yeah, exactly.
So right now nobody's bothered. But one day...
10 years from now, maybe.
One day they wake up and if money becomes tighter, then it could be a different story.
Anybody else? Okay, well, in that case, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.